West Coast. This is a play from a West Coast offense called Ace Twins Right, 62 slant flat. And it showcases this two receiver passing concept that forces the defense to move laterally across the field. A man named Bill Walsh created the West Coast system in the 1980s because he wanted high percentage throws that didn't require elite arm strength or speed from his quarterback. The revolutionary idea is that the passing game opens up the run game, which is complete opposite from the traditional approach. The theory is that quick short passes tire out linebackers because it forces them to cover more ground, which then creates an advantage when it comes to running the ball. Let's break down each component of this play call and talk about some other important West Coast concepts. Ace Twins Right refers to the personnel package and to formation. The personnel package simply means which positions are on the field for the offense. Each team has to have 11 players, and for offense, 5 of those players are always going to be in your lineman, and over your 6th is your quarterback. This means the remaining 5 players are going to be some combination of running backs, tight ends, and receivers. Personnel packages are described using 2-digit codes. The first digit represents the number of running backs on the field, and the second is the number of tight ends. So we're looking at an 11 personnel package right now, which is also called ACE for short. By default, quarterbacks line up under center in ACE formations, but they can line up in the shotgun as well, in which case the play call is simply gun ace.
Twins right refers to a twin or pair of receivers lined up on the right side of the field,
with right being the side of the play where the primary receivers and the first read for the quarterback are going to be. And because these 2 receivers are declared in the play call, we know by default that the other 2 receivers are going to be on the left side of the field. Importantly, with twins right, our Y receiver, which is our tight end, is going to line up in line, which means on the line of scrimmage right next to the tackle. Tray right is the same thing, except our tight end is lined up in line on the right side, so 3 receivers on the right side. Trips right is the same thing, except our tight end is no longer lined up in line.
In trips right, Y off, you'll notice there's a unique tag at the end of the play call, the Y off.
The Y refers to the specific player position, and the off is their assignment and where he's expected to line up. Each player has a letter assigned to them. In this case, this is our X, our tight end is our Y, our H is our slot receiver, and Z is our outside receiver on the play side. A lot of times you'll see X and Z in this position, but if the main side of the play was on the left, like for example in trips left, then our Z receiver will be on the left side, on the outside. Running backs are often referred to as F. So if a specific position is tagged at the end of a play call, that tag overrides whatever their default assignment was in the rest of the play call. So in this case, trips right would normally have our tight end lined up here, but the tag overwrites that with Y off, and he lines up here. This is an example of done ace tray right, where our quarterback is lined up in the shotgun position, and we have that tray right formation on the right here with our tight end in line. Bunch right is where 3 receivers are on the right side, in very close proximity to each other in this triangle formation. Doubles right refers to a double pair of receivers on the right and left. This is very similar to twins right, where we also had 2 receivers on the right, except our tight end is not in the end line position. He's in the slot now. The 62 refers to the pass protection being used. The 6 is the number of players that are going to be blocking. 5 players will be our linemen by default, and then the 6th will be our running back. The 2 refers to the type of protection that they'll use. 2 is kind of a default balanced protection where the offensive line will block the 4 down linemen as well as the middle linebacker. 63 means that the line will shift to the left and the running back will block any pressure that comes off the right. And 64 is the exact opposite. The line will block right and the running back will block left. Slant flat refers to the route combination for these 2 receivers on the right in this twins right formation. It's one of the many concepts that defines West Coast offenses, and players are coached to know that based on the personnel and formation, which specific receivers should be running the slanted flat. You'll notice these backside receivers don't have a specific assignment names in the play call, so they're coached to know what by default they should be running. It might be something like a go fade and a hitch route, for example. However, like we mentioned before, this could be overwritten by a tag such as X dig, which would instruct the X receiver to run a dig route
instead of his default assignment.
The purpose of this slant flat concept is to attack cover 3, which is where each cornerback will play a deep third.
Our safety will play a deep third in the middle.
And then this nickelback will cover either this curl route or maybe this out zone or maybe the flat. Regardless, we've got one defender against two receivers, so he's going to have to make a decision on which one he covers.
If he maintains inside leverage and follows the slant route,
the quarterback will throw to the flat route receiver and vice versa. Now, of course, the offense doesn't know if the defense is going to play cover 3 or not, which is why it might make sense to tag the backside receivers to run a route that attacks cover 2.
In cover 2, we have these two deep safeties and our cornerbacks
playing in these flat zones. And the miss nickelback might still be playing in this curl zone. So in this case,
our slant route and our flat route, if played correctly by the defense, will be covered.
But if we can't have our X receiver to run that dig route we talked about, or maybe a post route, then the quarterback has an option to attack the weak part of the field against cover 2 and cover 3. So what will happen is the quarterback will snap the ball, read the safeties to understand if it's cover 2, cover 3, or something else. If it's cover 3, he'll look to his receivers on the right and make a decision on which one to throw to based on where the nickelback decides to go. But if it's cover 2, then he'll first look to his X receiver to see if this across the deep middle is open. And if not, he might have a backup check down route by his tight end, like a hitch route or something like that. Quarterbacks that succeed in West Coast tend to be able to get the ball out quickly with 3-step drops.
They need to have very good short and medium accuracy and have timing and anticipation so that they can
release the ball before the receiver makes their break and deliver a very quick and accurate pass. 50-yard after the catch receivers are really effective in West Coast offenses. Think Devo Samuel, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Receivers who can make a quick catch, break their first tackle, and then run for a bunch of extra yards. Running backs and tight ends who can catch and run are also valued because there's a lot of plays coming out of the backfield and these short, soft zone plays across the middle. Spacing is another popular concept in West Coast systems, where the two outside receivers will run short hitch routes and the wide receiver will run a flat route. What this does is creates pick opportunities where covering defenders will run into each other as they run horizontally across the field. Nexus is a concept where the wide receiver might run some kind of seam or vertical route while the running back runs this angle route. Now this might peel the linebacker away from the middle of the field. More than likely it's going to attract the attention of the deep safety and lead this linebacker one-on-one with this running back, which if you have a fast running back, that might be a favorable matchup for the offense. Shallow cross involves two receivers running horizontally across the field, but at different depths. It's good against man because horizontally running across the field without many breaks is going to be a very difficult task for defenders to keep up with. Speedy receivers are going to be able to get open. It's difficult with zone coverages as well because receivers are going to be running across multiple zones where there are going to be open gaps in between. Also, defenders are going to have to make choices on whether or not they cover this steeper route or shorter route. Smash concepts involve a hitch route on the outside, a corner route from the slot receiver. It's particularly effective against cover 2, where the deep safety and cornerback will have to make a difficult decision. If timed right, the quarterback can hit this corner route right as he's breaking, which is in an awkward space between these two coverage defenders. The safety is going to have a hard time coming down to that route and defending it effectively, in which case the cornerback might come back and protect that route, leaving this kick route wide open. As a check down, the running back might run some kind of flat route or wheel route, which gives an extra opportunity on this outside for a completion.
Coryell.
This is a play in the Coryell or vertical system called I right slot, 824 lead, 989, F angle, 68 protection. The Coryell system was created by Don Coryell in the late 60s and early 80s with the San Diego Chargers. Coryell believed that attacking deep every play would eventually break defenses and create explosive plays. Famously, his quarterback Dan Fouts had seasons where he threw for over 47 and 4,800 yards, which by today's standards is pretty impressive, but 45 years ago is revolutionary. Most of the plays were designed to attack the field deep. These constant deep threats forced safeties to play back, opening up intermediate routes underneath. This system also revolutionized the tight end position with Kellen Winslow. It was the first time an athletic tight end was used more as a receiver than just for blocking, which created big mismatches against linebackers that just wasn't seen before. I right slot refers to the personnel and formation, just like with West Coast. The personnel is 21 because we have 2 running backs in the backfield and 1 tight end. Because of the alignment of the fullback and running back directly behind the quarterback, we call this an I formation for short. The quarterback's always under center in this case. In I formations, the tight end is lined up in line on the line of scrimmage next to the tackle, unless it's declared or tagged otherwise, which leaves two lone receivers on each side of the field. Now, the mention of slot indicates that this receiver on the right side is lining up in the slot instead of on the outside. Fake 24 lead is not a necessary component of this play call, but this is an example of how you would use play action, which is a fake run, where the quarterback pretends to hand the ball off to the running back, keeps the ball, and then proceeds to pass it to a receiver down the field. 24 refers to number 2, the running back, which is the position number, which we learned in the previous video. 4 refers to the 4 hole of our running gaps on the right side. So it just indicates which position and which hole this fake run is intended on directing towards. Lead indicates that it's a fake lead block, where the fullback is the lead blocker that the running back would follow behind. So 24 lead is the name of a running play, but the mention of the term fake means that it's play action. By mentioning the 4 hole specifically as part of this fake run, you can see the level of detail that goes into making this a believable fake run. 989 is classic terminology for an Coryell system. The 3 numbers in a row refer to the different routes on the route tree that the X, Y, and Z receiver are intended on running in this play.
The 9 is a go route, so our outside receivers will run those, and an 8 is a post route.
We know because the term right is used in the formation declaration in I right slot that this is our Z receiver, which makes this our X by default, and of course our Y is our tight end lined up here. The 3 digits in the play call usually go X, Y, Z, making this 989. F angle refers to the F position, which is our running back, and an angle route, which is just like this. Without mentioning F angle, the running back might have a default route that he's expected to run, but by tagging him with this specific route, it makes it super clear exactly what he's meant to do. 68 protection, of course, refers to the pass protection being used. The 6 refers to the number of players blocking, with our 6th player blocking being our fullback. Without specifically declaring this in the play call, we can assume this because all of our receivers have route assignments as well as our running back. And the 8 refers to the specific type of block, which in the Coryell system is a little bit different than the West Coast system. In this case, it's the direction and technique of the fullback's blocking assignment, which is blocking to the strong side edge rusher. So this is the strong side because we have the tight end, so he'll be blocking on this side. We're showing this against the 4-3 defense with 4 down defensive linemen and 3 linebackers, which is a little bit uncommon to the 4-2-5, which is the most common base package for defenses, where we would replace a linebacker with a nickel corner. But the reason for this is because the offense is in an I formation with 2 running backs, one of them being a fullback. An offense typically will include a fullback in their personnel package because they intend on running the ball a lot. And it's possible that up until this point in the game, they have run a lot of run plays. Now, linebackers are going to be more effective at stopping the run than a nickel cornerback, for example, which is why it might make sense for the defense to come out in 4-3 package compared to a 4-2. But of course, in this case, we're running it passing play, which means that we actually have more of a passing threat against fewer pass protectors in the secondary, which is the brilliance for this scheme being run out of the I formation. The offense gets to dictate the pace of play and can make substitutions at any point during their drive. But when that happens, for example, if a fullback comes off and we bring on a wide receiver, the defense is allowed a 7 to 10 second period where they can make a substitution of their own, maybe sending a linebacker off for that nickel cornerback we talked about. But if the offense feels like they have a personnel advantage or a matchup advantage based on the players that are currently on the field, then they're not going to make that substitution. The defense can still make that substitution if they want, but they have to do it quickly because the offense does not have to wait for them and they can snap the ball and give them a penalty. So this pass-heavy Coryell offense that's using a lot of vertical passing concepts, using this 5 formation with their run-heavy personnel is actually pretty genius because it gives them a flexibility to run multiple different types of play and keep the defense on their toes and not expect what's coming next. Mills is a popular Coryell concept that's intended on beating cover 3. Our Z defender is going to run a go route, get the attention of our deep cornerback playing a third here. Our X receiver is going to run a post route right across the middle of the field, get the attention of this deep safety. And our Y receiver, our tight end in this case, is going to run a dig route, also going across that deep middle. In theory, if this cornerback is playing this deep third, and maybe this safety is playing up here to get pressure, there's a possibility that this Y receiver is going to be open in this deep middle behind our linebackers. Again, we're exploiting this deep safety, having to choose between this deep post route and this dig route underneath. This play call might look like I right slot 8-6-9. Again, we're in the I formation, the right side with our receiver in the slot, with our receivers running an 8, 6, and 9. The mill refers to the combination of these two routes. You could simplify this play call to I right slot mills, Y dig, where we're tagging our Y receiver to run that dig route. Again, if we just said mills, this receiver might have a different default route expectation. So by tagging him with that dig route, it makes that expectation clear that he's running this dig across the center. Y pop is another popular concept in the vertical system. This play call might look like I right 999 Y pop. We're again in our I formation, but this time our receiver is on the outside, not in the slot, a typical high formation. Our X, Y, and Z receivers are all running 9 routes, which are go routes, but we have this Y pop tag, which means our Y receiver, our tight end, has something overwritten on his default route. A pop route is a go route, except there's a slight hesitation where it looks like he's going to block this outside defender on the line. That hesitation might make the safety run down expecting to run, which might be enough for that tight end to get behind him in the seam and create an open area. It's also effective against typical cover 3, where this seam zone between the two deep safeties is often a weak point. I right 96 Z drag is another popular Coryell play call that showcases the levels concept. We're still in the typical I right formation, with our X and Y receivers running a 9 and a 6 route, which is a go and a dig, and our Z receiver running a drag right across the middle. It's very similar to the shallow cross concept we looked at in West Coast. Although with West Coast, you might have some slightly shallower crossing routes, whereas in this case, our tight end is running a true gig, which is at 8 to 12 yards in depth. It's also often run out of trips or bunch formations where it'll have not only 2, but 3 varying levels. And the purpose here is to force these linebackers and other defenders to be confused and decide which level they want to defend. I right 996 X corner post showcases the corner post concept, which in this I right formation includes our X receiver running a 9 route, our Y receiver running a 9 route, and our Z receiver running a 6 route. But then we have a tag for X corner post. So because our X already has a default play call, this tag will overwrite that. And the reason for that is because this corner post route is not a typical route that's on the route tree, so we need to declare it as a tag. It's a combination of a corner route and a post route. The corner route goes to the outside, post route goes toward the middle in the post. So it starts as a vertical corner, but then comes back to a post. If this cornerback is in man coverage or deep zone coverage against this receiver, this double breaking route has the possibility of shaking that coverage and allowing him to get open. We've also got this dig route, which will take time to develop, but might become open underneath in that deep left zone. Air raid. This is a play in the air raid offense called doubles right, 92 mesh, F wheel, which uses the popular mesh concept across the middle. The air raid offense was created by Hal Mumme in the 1990s and started at small colleges. Air raid offenses pass the ball 70 to 80% of the time, which is way more than the balanced 50-50 in most offensive schemes. Despite that, only 10 to 20 core concepts are used in air raid compared to the 100 plus in the other pro-style offenses. This simplicity allows players to master fewer concepts perfectly. Most air raid offenses tend to use 10 personnel with 1 running back, 0 tight ends, and 4 receivers, or empty, which is 5 receivers. Despite the name air raid suggesting that this offense might be built around deep vertical passes, that's actually not the case. It's built around mostly short and intermediate passes. The doubles right in his play call refers to the formation that these players are lining up in, the 2 receivers lining up on the right side. These would be our Z and Y receivers, and on the left we've got our X and H receivers. 92 mesh is a good example of the naming convention used in air raid offenses, which is often a 2-digit code to suggest what the passing concept is. The main air raid concepts each fall within this 90s series, so 90, 91, 92, etc. are each a different combination of passing routes. 92 specifically refers to this mesh concept where we've got two receivers running these shallow crosses across the field. Now, 92 specifically refers to mesh in this case, so the addition of the term mesh in the play call is a bit redundant, but offenses might add it just to add extra clarity so everyone knows exactly what they're doing. The play call might also tag individual assignments as well as other passing concepts to layer on top of the base 92 concept. In this case, the F wheel is tagging this running back, our F, run a wheel route. The quarterback's progression is going to be number one of these mesh concepts across the middle, number two, the dig, number three, the go route, and then lastly, the running back. Four verticals is another popular concept in carry rate offenses, which is a pretty simple play design with four receivers running go routes. This makes it difficult for defenses because they often don't have enough safeties or defensive backs playing deep coverage to cover these four vertical routes. The difficulty is that these routes need time to develop because they're deep downfield and require good blocking. This particular play would be called doubles right 96, with 96 being the two-digit code for this passing concept. Trips right 95 might look something like this, where the X receiver is running a dig route, our Z receiver on the outside is running a go or a fade, our H receiver is running a shallow cross across the middle, and importantly, our Y receiver is running this deep crossing route at 10 to 12 yards. This concept is called Y cross because it's our Y receiver running this crossing route.
Trips right 80 stick is a really interesting play as well.
This took our last play. Trips right refers to three receivers who are lined up on the right side of the field. This would be our Y, H, and Z, and our X on the opposite side. 80 is the code for a hitch concept, where every receiver will run a hitch route. It looks something like this. 3 to 5 yards and then hurling immediately back to the quarterback. If you just called trips right 80, the play would look something like this. This is our base. But by adding the term stick to the end of the play call, it's adding this stick concept on top of this play, which overrides the default responsibilities of a couple receivers. The routes that stay the same are going to be our X and Y receivers, although our Y receiver might have an option route where he can run either a hitch, maybe an in, or maybe an out, depending on how the defensive coverage rolled out. Our Z receiver this time is just to clear the field vertically with a go route or a fade route. Our H receiver is going to run a flat route. The stick concept are these three routes on the right side of the play, which are going to challenge likely two defenders to make a decision on which of the two routes they need to cover. Executed correctly, and if unexpected by the defense, one of these three routes is almost always going to be open. Erhardt-Perkins. This is a play in the Erhardt-Perkins system called bunch left gun, ghost, F angle. You'll notice on the left side we have a concept that looks very similar to the stick concept we just looked at in the air raid. It's a great example of how this Erhardt-Perkins offense works. This offense was developed in the 70s by Ron Erhardt and Ray Perkins, and later became the foundational system for Bill Parcells and then Bill Belichick. The key idea is that play calling is simplified into concepts, such as ghost in this play call. Concepts are formation independent, so you can call the same concept in multiple formations, and players are coached to know exactly what their responsibility is. In this play, bunch left gun refers to a bunch concept, which, if you remember, are three receivers on the left side in close proximity, lined up in this triangle formation. Left meaning they're on the left side of the field. Because the left side is the play side, that makes this outside receiver the Z, the one on the right our X, this our H, and this our Y. Gun simply refers to this play being run out of the shotgun, so the quarterback is stepped back from the line of scrimmage. Ghost refers to the specific concept, which in this particular personnel and formation involves a go route from our Z, a flat route from our H, and a hitch route from our Y. Gives that same three receiver concept that we saw before, which is really effective against cover 3. Up at that side, we might have the X doing a slant. Now, this is not part of the ghost concept. It's not mentioned in the play call, but this might be a default route that's coached into all of the receivers. Its angle refers to a specific tag for our running back, who's running an angle route. But here's how this would be applied if we were in a completely different formation. This play is called doubles right gun, ghost F angle. The doubles right refers to the two receivers being on the right side. Our Y is our tight end. We saw an example before where our Y in doubles right was lined up on the left, which could be the case for certain offenses. But more often than not, the Y actually lines up on the right. Gun, we're in shotgun. ghost, we have a ghost concept, and then F angle, our running back, is doing this angle route. The way that the ghost concept will be applied in this scenario is to also have the Z receiver run that go/fade route and have our tight end run in a kitch. But of course, in this case, we don't have a third receiver on the right side of the field to run that flat route. And that's what the purpose of this running back is, to run this angle route. But the players will be coached to know that in this circumstance, in this formation, when ghost is called, this F player, our running back, is expected to run this angle route instead, whereas in the other formation, it's the H receiver expected to run that flat route. That's just something that they are taught and have to memorize. Now, because of that, it's actually not necessary to include F angle in the play call here, because it's technically part of that ghost concept, but offenses will typically do it just for added clarity, because this might be a little bit of a unique situation or a formation where they don't typically run ghost out of. So when that play is called in the huddle, they just want to make sure that everyone understands what's happening. So ghost is one of many concepts in this offensive scheme. The quarterback could, at the line of scrimmage, read the defense and call out to the left side a specific concept and then to the right side a specific concept. Each week they could disguise different terms for the different concepts, so he can call audibles on the fly in reaction to what he sees the defense doing. And because everyone has to be very well coached and adaptable in this system, this concept play calling system allows the offenses to work with faster tempo, take advantage of personnel advantages they might have, and really move down the field quickly. Whereas with other offenses, they might have to make substitutions and swap out different personnel packages and take a little bit slower pace. But in order for this to be successful, the quarterback has to have a mastery of the terminology. Not only does he need to memorize the coding concepts and how they're applied to different formations, but he needs to be able to recognize the situations where it would make sense to use specific concepts and be able to quickly audible the play call on the fly. For skilled players, coaches and quarterbacks look for veteran players who can line up anywhere and understand to play concepts and can adapt quickly on the fly. That's why you'll notice the Belichick Patriots having kind of an odd set of personnel, slot receivers who are maybe smaller and older, with less emphasis on speedy outside receivers like you see with a lot of teams. Edge is another popular concept often run out of a trips or bunch formation where one receiver is running that go or fade route, the Z receiver is usually running a slant, and the slot receiver is running a short corner route. Very similar to the stick in that we've got three varying depths for each of these three routes. Although this accomplishes essentially the same thing, giving different looks, different routes, different variety makes it a little bit more confusing for the defenders, making them have to react in real time and potentially make mistakes.